Welcome to Life Planning 101, brought to you by Kennedy Financial Services of Eastland. Tune in every Monday morning at 8:30 on KATX, and again on Saturday morning at 9 on KATX and KWBY as Angela Robinson joins Terry Slavens to share important financial information to help you live life on purpose. Insurance, investments, estate and tax planning, and much more. All covered now on Life Planning 101.
And it is Life Planning 101 right here on KATX KWBY. Terry Slavens with you, and joined this morning sitting in for Angela Robinson, Matt Irvin. Good morning, Matt. How we doing?
Good morning, Terry. How are you, sir?
I am fantastic. And Angela out of state at some meetings, so you're filling in her stead. So let's get right to it. We're talking about some college planning and so forth.
Yes, sir. You know, when you see me come in the booth, we're going to talk about some college planning and how we can help try to make some proactive planning to make that journey a little bit smoother. You know, it all starts by priorities, diving right into it. Want to know the most important aspects of what's important to you as the parent or the grandparent, and then the child or grandchild's unique situation. Two things that we've learned through the years of helping with this is, the modes of education have changed. We had traditional style school, and now there's everything from online to excelled programs, and also no two situations are the same. I think it's funny sometimes when someone comes up and says, "This is the answer for you. They got to have it, Terry. This is what you need to help your kids," and that should be the first step. Like, well, there's obviously more questions to ask, right?
No one size fits all.
That's correct. And so just like today, we're going to talk about an awesome tool that's kind of unexpected and not shared often, but it's very unique, and it's a neat thing. But first, I laughed because as I visited with Angela prior to the show, she said, "Hey, share this because this worked for me," and it was funny because she was motivated by money, right? And I say that because, hey, if your grades, if you get straight A's, I'll give you a $100 bill. If you get on the honor roll, maybe another $100 bill. And so what that was is it wasn't directly given to her. It was put towards her education. So she had to buy in at a very young age to try to help grow her education. And you can see today she's out of town, still learning, still getting better. So something stuck with her. And then so that's always exciting, very exciting. So there's things like that. There's also other ways to buy in. So Terry, tell me, if you could have, the kids fill out some applications, do you think that might save you money? Some scholarship application?
Absolutely.
So okay, let's put just as an example, no two situations are the same, but I can tell you, if my folks would have paid me to fill out applications, I would have done a lot more of it. It would have been better for me because ultimately it helps the student, right? It helps them go that much further.
And Matt, there's a tremendous amount of scholarship money that goes unused.
Yes, sir.
Every year.
Yes, sir. Yep, and it's unfortunate because it's out there for people to take advantage of, and typically what's daunting is the application or the essay process. Maybe there's an interview. Well, I don't want to do it. That's the attitude. Well, slap a little bounty on it, and maybe it's a little more incentive to do it.
Absolutely.
So, and I had to share one more unique to the situation motivation. So when I was young, I was offered a young horse, a colt, for good grades. So what did I do? All year I worked really hard, and a very close friend of ours had bred some horses that year, and I passed the grades, and so I ended up with a colt to work with all summer long, and that was my motivation. So it's always exciting. There's different things to use, and of course there's different tools. We talk about 529 plans. We talk about purchasing tuition credits. There's all types of different stuff, but today there's a really neat product we're going to use, and it's actually, when it fits, it can be very beneficial to the parents. And so it's a product that it's a little tax friendly. I mean, Terry, you like tax friendly, don't you?
Oh, yes.
Tax friendly is a good thing. It always is a good thing. And so as we talk about it, it meets several needs. It meets needs for the parents. It meets needs for the kids, and it gives us gives us some flexibility. We talk about the 529 plans and there's some covered all plans, things like that are very specific on what they can be used for and very specific on how they can be used. But, this particular, and I'm saving it, you can tell I'm trying to build up the anticipation, but this particular product has a lot of flexibility, and it meets more than one need, and so one thing I want to throw in is we have a poll going on our Twitter at KFS Life Planning, a weekly poll, and so kind of to build into this, who is paying for your child's education? Do we have A, it's a parent or grandparent's responsibility, B, is it the child's responsibility, or C, a combination of A and B? And there's probably some differentiation of views on there depending on what was given to you as a kid or what you want to do as a kid, and so that was great. And one more thing I'd like to add in about this particular product is Terry, when you got married, do you think your income was going to go up or down?
Well, it probably went down.
Yeah, well, so it's obviously depends on the situation, right? When you get married, your kids are on the horizon, and we know how kids can be when it comes to spending money. But you are correct in the fact that it will go down, and there's a need. It's not necessarily immediate, but later on in life, that this particular college planning tool can help meet that need. So we're really excited to share that with you right after the break.
All right, we'll be back with more Life Planning 101 right after this on KATX KWBY. And welcome back in Life Planning 101 on KATX KWBY. Matt Irvin, our special guest, sitting in for Angela Robinson. Matt?
So I laugh a little bit because my whole story is on college planning, tuition planning, education planning, and then the flexibility. As we were talking, Terry and I, he's trying to have kids doing everything from horseshoeing to pharmacy school and everything in between, and that's wonderful because, as you can tell, there's no one straight path to success, right, Terry?
Right.
It can be very diverse, and which is a great thing to realize that education is the key. It's not necessarily one path fits all people. So this special tool we're talking about using before the break, it's a unique tool, and like we discussed, it can help parents out or grandparents out, but also fill the need for that tuition planning, and that's actually cash value life insurance policy. And I know what everybody's thinking. Life insurance, they kind of run away from that big scary word because there can be some negativity wrapped around it, but I want to show you the positives. So when we think about the flexibility, we can money grows in there tax deferred, and we can make some tax friendly withdrawals and deposits into this policy for student education. And it has to be. I was talking to Angela prior to this about what's our ranges, and it has to fit because it won't fit all situations. It's more of a long-term planning tool that allows that cash flow value to develop and grow, and then we can make the deposits there and grow into something that we can access. And so obviously we know what we really like to do as a firm is look at what things are for opposed to what they are. Meaning we want to see what this tool can do for us and fill the gaps that we need it to. So, and here's another thing that I was really excited to share with everybody, because when you're doing your FAFSA, your financial aid, certain things go against you and certain things are, I guess, for you in a way. And let me explain that just a little bit. Meaning you have a needs calculator. If you have money in a bank account that they say that should be used for college, but the money in this cash value life insurance policy is protected from that calculator. So it is not considered as part of your assets to be used for college,
right,
when we know that it can be. So it's a very exciting thing because it doesn't inhibit you from things like scholarships. We talked about scholarships a little bit earlier, but or grants. Grants are a nice thing because they
don't have to be paid back.
Don't have to be paid back. Right? So everybody likes grants, and sometimes focus more so on the grants that they skip out on some of the scholarships, which are very, very similar, right? But something that I did when I was a student was also the on-campus, work study. You have to qualify for it, but it's very beneficial. They work between classes, hours, very, very flexible. So we like that, and it does not go to any of that. So it's a very powerful tool because as we discussed, the income need for parents, there's always a need to have some coverage, right? During your earning years, if something were to happen, you want to be able to provide for your family, but also in the later years when you talk about Social Security planning and your spouse, and if one spouse has a higher Social Security than the other, they can take the higher, but then there's still a deduction of income because two of you were not putting into the pot any longer. So this can help with some of that. So you can see how this tool is very, very diverse in the fact that it can wear many hats, right? It can fill many needs, and that's what we like to do a lot when we're planning. We like to look at the big picture and see, what's the best thing for you. And so this is not going to fit for everybody. It absolutely won't, but it might fit for those people and really make a difference in what they're trying to do. So really excited to be able to share that with you, and kind of diving into the scholarships and the FAFSA and things. One thing that I've learned more recently, and it was a recent change, was Terry, do you know off the top of your head when the FAFSA filing deadline is?
No, I do not.
Yeah. So before I started with Kennedy Financial, I had it in my head because I looked at it. I was going to school, and it was January 1. Whether you filed your taxes or not, you went and filed your FAFSA, and then you went back and made the adjustments after you filed your tax return. Well, they've since moved that up to October 1st. And on a first-come, first-served basis, I want to be doing mine October 1st, right? So it's very important. If you're going to school in the 2018-2019 year, so it's the seniors this year that are going to school next fall, October 1st is your first date to file. Now, the window to file is very long. For instance, those going to college the fall of this year have until June 30th of 2018 as a closing date, but they've also had since October 1st of 2016. So you think about those deadlines and those priorities, you want to be on top of them. You want to be paying attention. You want to know and prioritize those so you can have a shot at getting those scholarships and those funds that are available. And a lot of schools have scholarship deadlines very early in the year that, if you're not sure exactly where you want to go, oftentimes you can miss out on some of those deadlines because you wait a little bit longer. So, which is fine. I mean, there's nothing wrong with exploring your options. But if you're going to explore your options, make sure that we have a plan on every route. Fill out some scholarship applications, file your FAFSA, take care of business there because it can be helpful. Last time I was on, I shared about some of the statistics about the kind of the heartache and headache big debt can cause. If you remember back, Terry, it can cause social issues, it can cause confidence issues, all these things that we want our kids to get out of school and seize the world and fight and grab the bull by the horns, and it's so important to give them that, and you want to give that to them by giving them a way to feel like they can be successful. And so thinking about that, not having a huge amount of debt coming out of it is important. So,
of course, that's another thing that the life insurance can also help with if a parent dies prematurely, and if a kid has accumulated some debt, that life insurance
it wears many hats, right?
Could pay it off.
Yep, that's great to identify that because it wears many hats. That money can be designed for so many different things and cover so many different things because it's so unfortunate when you lose a parent period. But if I'm familiar with a student that lost one his senior year, right before he graduated, just a few days before graduation, and how hard would that be to, emotional state. But anyways, Terry, we'll get back to this and circle back around and talk more about this awesome tool and some of the other things that we have available.
We'll be back and wrap things up on our next segment of Life Planning 101 right here on KATX KWBY. And it is the final segment of Life Planning 101 right here on KATX KWBY. And you know what, Matt? The reality of it is not every little Johnny is going to get a football scholarship, even though the parents like to think so. A very small percentage is going to go to college on a full ride athletic scholarship.
That's right.
So you got to do some planning.
That is right. And to be honest with you, even if you don't go to school on a full ride scholarship, maybe traditional school's not for you. Right, so maybe you want to go to vocational school. Maybe you want to be a welder. Maybe you want to be a lineman. Maybe I could rattle off all day, right, Terry? But we don't have a lot of time. But
and you're seeing more and more emphasis on giving kids choices as far as vocational, even at the high school level. I mean, a lot of high schools, people are graduating high school with a certificate in a chosen field.
That's right. Welding is one big one. I know when we did school, we did a small engine repair. Such a valuable thing nowadays, being able to work on some of that. And they're getting, similar to the dual credits in the classroom education, they're getting somewhat dual credits, if you will, of welding or something they can take with them that's a little bit more than their high school diploma to go be able to apply it and use it in life. And there's so many tools and aspects out there, and again, scholarships, some of those vocational programs or trade programs have extra funding that as it fits it needs. But I wouldn't, I guess, Terry, if it were me, I just wouldn't wait to see what was going to happen if I was going to make the short list for the college athletic scholarships or have somebody give me a scholarship to see if I could go to school. I would want to take a little bit of that initiative on my own, and so there's some great things that we talk about, and the one in particular today was that cash value life insurance policy that kind of helps mom and dad or grandma and grandpa out, as well as gives an opportunity for the child to go to school with some funding. So wonderful tool for everything in life. Another thing I want to bring about is we have this topic and many others. I could list all day about the different planning tools for college education, tuition planning specifically. And on our website, we have a breadth of articles about this topic and many others, and that's at kennedy-financial.com. And you can also subscribe to our weekly newsletter, which always has, that has a different topic. If you're used to hearing Angela, it has a lot of different things that may work for you, little tidbits of information that kind of get you started. And one thing about it is, no two situations are the same. So we always encourage to get that second opinion and get that second set of eyes on things, because there may be something that's out there that we didn't know about, or you didn't know about, or something, a combination of things that may work for you. So like I said, I encourage you to go to kennedy-financial.com and look at our vast variety of articles and things that might just give you that little bit of guidance, some insight, if you will, that might give you that little bit of information you need. So wonderful things. And also, if you have any questions for us specifically on this topic or those others, please email them to us at lifeplanning@kennedy-financial.com. Wonderful place to get a second opinion. Like I said, Terry, if you have an idea or something that you might think that fits, or hey, what do I do in this situation? We can kind of discuss it and see if there's something that we can help you with. So always encourage that.
Of course, education is such a vital part of society.
Yes, sir.
And planning, like I said, introducing this last segment, not everyone's going to get a scholarship. So you can't wait to see if little Johnny's going to get a scholarship and then try to plan because it's too late. So you need to go ahead and start early. And if you're lucky enough that you do have a child that gets a full ride scholarship, that money's not lost. It's still an asset for you that you could use it for other purposes.
Well, and think about it this way: how many adults are going back to school? How many adults? So your kid gets a full ride scholarship. You have some money sitting there, and maybe you want to further your education. Education money, when used in the right context, is very flexible. It's very flexible. You can use it in a lot of different schools, different ways, different facilities. There's online programs. There's ways to trade amongst family. I mean, 529 plans can be transferred amongst family members, cousins, things that it's amazing, because at the end of the day, tax-friendly vehicles, and they want you to use them. They don't want you to lose it. They want you to better yourself, because as the society gets more educated and able to use that, then it makes the world a better place, right, Terry?
Absolutely.
I mean, if people have more education, more knowledge, they can bring more to the table, and that ultimately helps everyone out.
You've mentioned several times during the show, Matt, 529 plan.
Yes.
Tell our listeners what exactly is a 529 plan as we wrap things up here this morning.
So a 529 plan is a qualified savings vehicle. It's something that you can not necessarily, it has some state tax credits, but we don't have state tax, so it doesn't help you out a lot in this state other than it's gross tax deferred, and then distributions, qualified distributions. Remember I said if you use it for the right things.
Right.
You can't say, hey, this brand new car is for college, Terry, so I'm going to use that money. It doesn't quite stretch that far. It has some limitations on expenses, but they can be very powerful, and those things transfer amongst brother, sister, and that's the thing. If like I said, little Johnny, he gets through and has an awesome year, scholarships, little Susie may need some educational money. So there's a lot of powerful tools, and I'm glad I'm able to share some with everybody. And I encourage, if there's someone that you'd like to share this with, you can access our podcast at katxradio.com or kwbyradio.com. Also, the podcasts are available through kennedy-financial.com. And then we are on iTunes and iHeartRadio, so you're able to subscribe to that channel and get us on a regular basis. So, Terry, thank you so much for having me today, and I appreciate your time and able to share this information.
All right, Matt, great job. We'll be back next week with more Life Planning 101.
Thank you for joining us for Life Planning 101, brought to you by Kennedy Financial Services of Eastland. Tune in every Monday morning at 8:30 on KATX, and again on Saturday morning at 9 o'clock on KATX and KWBY for more Life Planning 101.
Advisory services offered through Smart Money Group, LLC, a registered investment advisor. Securities offered through Calton & Associates Incorporated, member FINRA SIPC. Kennedy Financial Services Incorporated is an independent of Calton & Associates Incorporated and Smart Money Group, LLC.